No.
Yeah, the meeting to order, the July CEDC full board meeting to order. And item one, chairman's remarks. The very first thing I would like to do is discuss one of our previous members, Mr. Ken Leggett, who went through some trauma a month or so ago and resigned from the board under maybe a bit of duress, and has expressed to me and some others that he would still like to be on the board. So I would ask if there's any discussion on that, and then I'm going to ask if we have a motion to approve, put him back on the board and vote on it. So is there any discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Next item is minutes, and missing Jim Kelvin to make that motion.
So moved. I'm in his seat, so.
And a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Committee reports, audit and finance met, and we have a treasury report. Everything?
No, I think we had a great meeting. Hopefully we won't go through it in such detail on this meeting.
Right. There was a lot of
Audit
detail.
infinitum. Well, we do appreciate the finance committee being able to go through with us the entire balance sheet and P&L for the purpose of this meeting. If we look at the budget versus actual, which your packet, our actual to date is 537,000 versus 577,000 in budget. It's a variance of $40,000. $40,000 relates to $11,000 that we're waiting to receive from the county with respect to reimbursement for broadband, and $22,000 in administrative revenue, $22,500. We had our contract with the City of Hudson IDA provides that we receive $10,000 a year for administrative services and 10% of any fees that they collect related to closing IDA project deals, up to $10,000. This is a timing issue. We had anticipated that two deals, which are about to close now, would have closed in the first half of the year. So we anticipate that that variance will evaporate as we move into July and August. We also are receiving funds that we hadn't budgeted for with respect to administrative expenses that are allowed under the Office of Community Renewal Grant Program. And you'll recall we recently assisted Kleinkill Farm in receiving a $250,000 grant to provide a new building for migrant housing. And I believe we are entitled to a $16,000 fee on that transaction. So I'm not too concerned about the variance in our revenue. With respect to expenses, we had $565,000 in expenses versus budgeted $606,000. So the $40,000 that were off in revenue were $40,000 under in expenses. The largest area is consulting fees and employee expense and grant expense, and $20,000 in new initiatives. We did have $10,000 over budget in professional fees, and that's because of the increase in accounting costs. And we did discuss at the committee meeting the fact that we do need to have a conversation next year, or beginning now, so that we can better understand where we are with accounting fees in the context that because we now have to do a single audit because of the amount of federal funding that we receive, that they have all but doubled the accounting fees. And we just have to get a better understanding of that, and if necessary, go out to public bid. With respect to the grant expense, we're down $6,450. We had budgeted $17,500. We've paid out 11. Those are the grants that we offer through the loan program as part of Columbia Forward. If you're eligible for the Columbia Forward program, you receive 10% of the loan amount as a grant. Again, that's a timing issue. We have get a report from Martha later on where we are on those loan programs, but we had anticipated doing $65,000 more in those loans than we have done through June 30th. So I think that we're in good shape. One of the things that did happen, we had budgeted for an intern. We have Valen Hay, who will be with us through August 11th. That position was funded through the Columbia County Human Resource Department as part of their summer intern program. They were pleased to be able to have a placement here. So the money that had been budgeted for a summer intern is about half of the employee expense that we did not incur. And I think we had a very good experience with Valen. And I think that we'll be looking at whether we engage an intern during the fall semester. Valen goes back to University of RIT, so that Valen is not available to work during the school year. But traditionally, we have had an intern from Columbia Green Community College, so we'll be in touch with their office to see how we can continue that process. It is very helpful with some of the data entry and routine work. Are there any questions on the P&L? If not, we have a very stable balance sheet. It is up $633,000, but that is primarily because of additional funding that we received from the SBA in the last 12 months as it relates to our loan program. Martha has some exciting news to share with her report about our 2023-2024 SBA initiative. You can see that we also have had some an additional increase in our balance sheet when we had to do the accounting right of use asset, $280,000. The FASB accounting standard board came up with the idea that you have to now book leases. And the interesting thing there, it's an added asset, but it's an equal liability, but it does inflate the overall asset and liability balance. We do have deferred income. The deferred income is the income that we're holding because of the county prepaying us, both for funding for Columbia Forward and our also because they advanced us in June $240,000, which represented the amount they owed that was due from July 1 to December 31st on our for service contract, so that we would have funding available to enter into the contract to purchase 11 Warren Street. The county is moving forward in doing their due diligence on that project. The survey has been done. The title work is in place. They're conducting various engineering inspections. They are moving forward with a resolution on August 9th to enter into a contract with CEDC in connection with our assignment of that purchase and sale contract to them. The consideration will be $175,000, which is the earnest money that we placed when we signed the contract. Again, we used money that was advanced under the current fee-for-service contract to do that, so that 175,000 will replace those funds, so that will be paid in advance for the rest of the year with the county. The county is very grateful and pleased that we were able to step in and, as the local development corporation and provide that vehicle to tie the land up before so that they could see where they want to go. If they decide not to go forward, we terminate the agreement before the middle of October, and we get back the 175 from the seller.
Mike, do they know like a time frame on when they're gonna make a decision, or?
I would, I think that we wanted to wait till they approve the assignment, and we will bring it presumably to the August 29th meeting. So anytime in September, I think there'll be a transfer if they decide to go forward. If not, I think it's like October 12th when the 120 days run up, and we would notify the seller by September 30th, just so that there was no question whether we were going to go forward. So, again, we had a very extensive meeting. It's a very strong committee, and if there aren't any questions, that concludes my report.
So this was discussed, voted on, and approved at the committee. So any more discussion? Entertain a motion to approve the treasury report. So moved. And a second.
Richard.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion is carried. Next item is the executive committee. We did not meet, as well as governance and nominating committee did not meet. The loan committee did, and there's quite a full house there. First is portfolio dashboard. Morning, Margaret.
Thank you, David. In looking at the dashboard, most of the clients that are on to receive month after month. But I did want to report that loan client B, who is in arrears beyond 120 days, they were sent a final demand for. And regarding loan client F, they have requested that their loan be restructured, and the loan committee approved that at their last meeting. So we're looking balance is $23,700. Are there any questions?
No discussion. Motion to approve the portfolio dashboard.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. So now we have 3 loans.
Good morning, everyone. Presenting to you this morning, After Hours LLC. This is a craft cocktail lounge and cocktail restaurant located here in Hudson. Their request was $50,000 that we provided a $30,000 loan from the CEDC fund and a $20,000 SBA microloan. Terms of the loan from the CEDC fund, a 120-month note, and the SBA microloan, a 72-month note. Total payment of $664.52 monthly. The interest rate on this loan is 6%. The purpose of the loan is working capital. The collateral will be a lien on the business asset and the personal guarantee of the principals. That's After Hours LLC.
So after hours as well, all 3 of these have been discussed at the loan committee and approved by the loan committee. So I ask the full board if there's any more discussion with regard to after hours. And I'd entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Carried. Kinderhook Book.
Thank you. And Kinderhook Books LLC, a bookstore, gift shop, and wine bar located in the village of Kinderhook. They're requesting $50,000 loan that again we divided between the CEDC fund and the SBA fund. Terms of the loan, 120-month note on the CEDC fund. Again, that loan is $30,000. And the SBA microloan, a note of 72 months in length, again, a $20,000 amount. Total monthly payment of $664.52. Interest rate is 6%. Purpose of the loan, inventory purchase and working capital. And the collateral being a a second mortgage on principal residence as well as her personal guarantee. Bitterhook Books LLC. Thank you.
Any discussion? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion's carried. Colette.
The last one is, Eco Hudson. This is a butcher shop, a whole animal butcher shop, at a grocery store that will be located in the city of Hudson, and their loan request is for $75,000. But again, between CEDC and the SBA microloan fund, 120-month note on the CEDC side and a 72-month note on the SBA microloan side. Interest rate again is 6%. Purpose is equipment purchases and working capital, and once again, we have a REMA business asset and personal guarantee.
Discussion. Excuse me. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? It's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike, did you want a brief update on our grant?
Yes, the grant and the funding for the 700, the portion of the 750.
We just closed out our technical assistance grant for the year that ended June 30th, and I'm happy to say we utilized all the funds that were available to us. The total amount was $232,000. We just submitted our reimbursement request to the SBA. So the new grant year, which took effect on July 1st, our grant is $275,000. And as you may recall, that covers staff salaries, overhead, and also pays for the technical consultants that we use to help our small business owners develop business plans and run QuickBooks and all that good stuff. We were also approved, as we know, for a $775,000 loan from the SBA, and that loan closed last week. We requested our first drawdown of $275,000, and that money should hit our revolving loan fund today. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully after 8 a.m.
It's a
And
stock
again,
market, we check it every 5 minutes.
We do have to set aside 15% of that amount in the loan loss reserve account, and that money is in there, and we transferred it from another SBA loan.
Also, we're excited about the opportunity to honor BJ Papraki, who has been the regional administrator at the district level, the district administrator for the SBA in Syracuse, and we are in the Syracuse district. How many years has he been at the SBA? 37. They are having a reception for him on Thursday in Syracuse. I'm going to go out, considering the extent of support we've received from the SBA over the last 15 or 20 years. They're also they're bringing a senior administrator from the New York office, the Region 2 office, which is New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware. And, if you want to be a federal administrator, get Region 2 because it includes Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. But they're going to have a roundtable discussion on what we do at the micro loan level, along with representatives on 7A and other SBA grants in upstate New York. So going to do that on Thursday. I think it's important to note that our loan volume helps drive our technical assistance funding. And it wasn't that long ago that our award for technical assistance was $90,000. Then it was about 120, then it went to 180, then it went to 232, and this year, 275.
3 times.
3 times. We did discuss at the finance committee that, you have to be able to have elasticity depending on whether Congress continues to support the program at this level. But again, when you look at the fact that they've given us another $750,000 over 3 years to lend, it does enable us to keep our volume up through the work that Martha and Steve are doing with the support of Pat and others in the organization.
And like I might add, that the new loan was $775,000. In the first 12 months, the interest accrues at 2%. In month 13, interest will start to 4%. But we did have a discussion with the loan committee about increasing the rate that we're charging on our micro. We can do that at any time.
Next item on the agenda is workforce and education. There was no meeting, but Curly is here. Yes, yeah. Have anything?
Um,
No?
we're in summer mode.
School's out.
There you are.
School's out. We are going to have
Planning
a
mode,
meeting, I
right?
think, on August 3rd,
Okay,
the next workforce.
okay.
I will say this, the college received $910,000 from SUNY to support healthcare. Specifically, we're developing an LPN program, which is much needed in this area, and also buying additional simulator equipment for nursing.
Okay.
There's a state regulation now that nurses can complete 30% of their training in a simulator room. So we're on top of that. So anyway, things are just chugging along.
Thank you very much. Mike, back to you for your CEO report.
Thank you. Dave and I have a call at 10 o'clock with the Connect All program, which is the New York State Broadband Office with their director to discuss where Columbia County is with respect to the remaining unserved addresses. As you know, we have 4 providers, GTEL, Mid-Hudson, Spectrum, and Consolidated. We are down to about 750 addresses, although, I'm sorry, that's after 350 addresses are going to be connected based on funding that then Representative Delgado received through the congressional authorization process for the towns of Ghent, Austerlitz, New Lebanon, and Canaan. Ghent and Austerlitz decided not to wait for the USDA funding because it still is in process, and used remaining town ARPA money that they had to close out as many addresses as they could with Consolidated and Mid-Hudson. That process has been going relatively well. It's really been helpful because it puts us in the position in dealing with the USDA on Canaan and New Lebanon and a few additional addresses at Austerlitz that got missed because Consolidated is the primary carrier for those towns, and they've already gone through the process using ARPA money, so they understand what we need to be able to access the USDA funds. I have a call this morning at 11:30 with Consolidated and the 2 towns. We think that what the state is going to do, the state was awarded $640 million for broadband as part of the federal allocation. We think we need 2.5 to 3 million max to finish the addresses that are Columbia County. There's been a suggestion that we coordinate and run a RFP similar to what some other counties did using their ARPA money to finish out broadband in their counties. We only have $500,000 left in the county's ARPA fund, so there's not enough to run an RFP where we would be the funder of the program. We need the state funding. So rather than just go ahead and do that, we emailed the state and said that we've been encouraged to do that, but before we did it, we wanted to see how that worked with the program they were looking to do. They said they're very interested in talking to us about doing an RFP now, but they want to tell us how they'd like to see it done. And so hopefully that's what we're going to learn today. And this is consistent with the plan that we had attempted to promote, where we would be a test case or a pilot program for the state to see how we would get the money out in the upstate rural counties. Especially because we have 4 providers, there will be some element of competition on the fringes. If 2 providers or 3 providers have adjoining service, you might find a situation where 1 or more providers would bid in this RFP for the ability to get the funding for the service. We're not sure whether it'll be a reverse auction, which was what was done when the state allocated the funds back in 2017, or whether just a straight up auction. And we didn't want to do the RFP too far in advance of the funding, because the providers would have to put such a contingency in because they wouldn't know what the cost at the time the project would be undertaken. So I think we are in a good position. My biggest concern is that when you go out and ask for providers, which of the 500 to 600 remaining addresses they're interested in, there'll be 100 that no one wants because they're going to be too expensive to do. And hopefully they'll put a price tag on them that will allow them to do them, and the state will have to decide whether to fund those projects that are outside of what would seem to be an average cost of connecting an individual address. So, it's a 7 or 8 year process for broadband, and we have at least a year and a half to go because the federal funding will not flow until the middle of next year, and then the work will get done, and hopefully everyone will be connected.
It might take longer. It takes a while to get licensed, and it takes a year.
On the housing front, we've continued to make progress. Chris Brown has been here now 6 months. We have the task force has been set up. There's 3 committees that meet regularly. There's a task force meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock. The monthly combined task force meeting. We have been working on a number of recommendations, including exploring the possibility of creating a county land bank. Chris has really done a great job bringing together the stakeholders. As you recall, we have a task force of community members, and we have an advisory committee of people whose day job it is to promote affordable housing. I am a little concerned, as is everyone, that affordable housing is an issue that doesn't have any clear path because wage rates are wage rates, and average or median sale price of homes are in the $400,000 range. You're making the average median household income in Columbia County of approximately $70,000. 30% of your income towards housing allows you to afford a $150,000 to $160,000 house with taxes and insurance, and there are none. We're limited, of course, by for multifamily rental housing because multi-unit rental housing because of the lack of water sewer infrastructure. I'm concerned because in the Adirondacks there was an article, affordable housing : Mission Impossible, and we don't want to be in a position where our efforts are simply the opportunity to continue to discuss it for 3 years. So the idea of moving forward with a land bank, I think, makes a lot of sense. It's only one tool in the toolkit, and we are working with the Board of Supervisors who've requested that we put together an informational session for them so they can make a decision sooner than later, because there are only several land banks that are still licenses, if you will, that the state has approved. Not that they wouldn't approve more. And one of the issues is that the U.S. Supreme Court issued a ruling a month ago that when the county takes back, when they buy the tax rolls from the town and the school district and combine it with the county taxes that are delinquent and the fees that are assessed against delinquent tax payment penalties, that when you sold those properties, if you sold the property for more than the amount that the was due to the taxing jurisdictions with penalties, the county can keep those funds. The Supreme Court has ruled that the owner of the property is entitled to any premium that is received in an auction. And so, there's kind of state has got a bill before the governor. I don't think she signed it. Put in a moratorium on tax foreclosure sales until the state can figure out how that's going to work. That's kind of shifted the landscape, because one of the reasons that you might not want to do a land bank is because if you're getting a premium, the idea of the land bank is that you either sell the property, you transfer the property to the land bank at a discount or for free, so that they can then engage a developer and transfer that property to them at a below market value to subsidize the ultimate project. A lot of questions, but I think Chris has a great experience and background in this, having run the Troy Land Bank prior to coming here, and I think we'll be successful. But it is a process to be sure that board of supervisors, individual members are comfortable with the plan. Chris, is there other areas that you're working on with the task force that?
Yeah, we finished, good morning, everybody. We finished putting together and editing some comments on the employer survey that Dr. Timmerman developed for us for Berkshire County Community Foundation. So that'll get circulated. We're looking at September with a follow-up survey to employees in October. Also in October, Mike and I started talking about having a housing forum. We had a housing forum last year, which kind of led to the creation of the task force. So having that is just a recurring annual meeting is something we'd like to continue to do. We are also supporting the creation of a community land trust, community land trust called Trillion that will operate countywide. We're waiting for HCR's executive board to sit and approve all the grants that we're working earlier this year. That should happen next month. On the state level, you've probably seen the governor issue an executive order in the past 10 days or so, creating what's known as a pro-housing community initiative. Nobody quite knows exactly what that is yet. They haven't rolled out the full program. So tomorrow night during the task force meeting, I'll unpack what we know about it. We're still trying to figure out what communities need to do to get this designation, how CEDC can help. That looks like it's going to be important. And then I guess also on the state side, this afternoon, I've got a meeting with Assembly Member Barrett, just to update her on what the task force is working on. I'm sure she's probably going to ask what are some ideas for bills for next year. I'd like to hear what ideas she's got for bills for next year as well.
Thank you. I attended an event that Derek Grout from Golden Harvest hosted last week at the farm with Senator Hinchy. We did discuss a number of issues, including housing. There were a number of agricultural business owners and farmers there. A lot of the issues related to the state's minimum wage laws and the issues that relate to compensating farm workers. And there were some housing issues there as well. We continue to work with the county on the 5 megawatt and under solar projects. We're doing this on kind of a literature review and a review of other county pilot structures. We think that Columbia County's been using $3,500 a megawatt for the smaller projects, which brings it to about $17,500 a year to split between the 3 communities for a 5 megawatt solar project. And that would be 50% to the school district, 25% to the town, 25% to the county. We are seeing as high as $10,000 a megawatt for these projects in other places. Greene County recently went to 8,500. And the purpose of our exercise is to recommend to the Board of Supervisors what the increase should be without imposing a penalty on these businesses. But as power rates go up above what they were originally estimated to be, we do want to stay current. And it was one in the beginning. It was a way to incentivize these programs, but they should be paying more on a consistent basis with other counties. Another area that's come up that we'd like some input on from the board this morning is childcare. The board we had a very good discussion on workforce development and education as to what our role should be in that area. Several months ago, Chairman Morrell asked me to participate in some discussions that Commissioner Bob Gibson had been coordinating through the Social Service Department. The Social Service Department has access to significant state funding to be able to provide grants directly to families that have childcare needs where the cost of the childcare exceeds their ability to pay. They cannot get those funds out to the people who could use them because there are not enough childcare providers in the county. I think that we've had, Jessica and I have had calls with several not-for-profit childcare organizations indicating that the money that the state has provided to the county to pay for childcare doesn't support the operations of the organization. Those particular centers, have like a nursing home. They have full pay clients and they have subsidized clients. And they also have contributions and fundraisers. Martha and I worked with several people in the last year who wanted to open up a home daycare where they would, if they had 2 children, instead of paying $600 a month to somewhere for each of their 2 children to attend daycare, could they take 4 kids in and stay home, and with the net loss of income from the job that they had, net of taxes and daycare, result in greater income or equal income by reducing the cost for their 2 children because they were taking care of them themselves, but overcoming the net by providing services to other families. We did some business plans, and by the time people realized to be certified or to get licensed or registered with the state, that the improvements to your home and the equipment and the materials that you needed to buy and the insurance just didn't make it work. At the same time, I think what we're looking to do is to get more knowledge about the situation and see if we can't be a facilitator, because there is significant state funding. We have talked with Tina Sharp and Joan Hunt and others. So we want to have a conversation with college about its facility. I don't think we want to convene people and be an aggregator of information and discussion with the county, and then hopefully have people find the route to the funding through us, not where we're doing it for them. Martha and I have had preliminary conversation. Was it the community foundation that ran the daycare, how to run a daycare center program, or I know that it was in Albany, or was it the SBA? Community Loan Fund. Our thought would be to perhaps work on a generic business plan with one of our TA consultants and tie it into having the community foundation come down. They do serve Columbia County, and we would brand that program, but have them put it on for us and see if there are people who are entrepreneurs out there, and give them the template to explore it. On the flip side, if we do that and it fails, then we have the data and information to demonstrate to our state legislators and to the Department of Children and Family Services that the solution isn't out there. It's not just go find people who want to run a daycare center. Again, it would be at a higher level. I think it would. We might be able to get some loans out of it, and I do think that what we're hearing from employers is that
Several years ago, used to have the what was it, the lock? I can't remember what the latchkey programs. Sort of, we used to help with that.
So I live in Hudson, and my daughter's going to be doing that program this summer for 2 weeks, because you can do like a week at a time, and the camp she goes to is only a few weeks. Summer's really hard for us. We're always piecing together.
There's a lot of that, and I think there's I see it in my position because I've worked with all these schools for 35 years, and there's a lot. Anything can be done, in my opinion, if you're willing to talk about it and make a little bit of changes. The problem I always see in every school district is not everybody is willing to, well, we can change. That's the problem. Right. It takes staff, contractual changes. It takes everybody to have an open mind to say, we've got to make things better because we can't do it like we did 20 years ago. It's changed. And it doesn't matter what name is on the front of the building. It's the same scenario.
I mean, I'm just, for the first time in our employee pool, 20 full-time staff, we've recruited somebody who has a small child who moved up from North Carolina, really top-notch person, and she's just found it impossible to find childcare. She has a 2.5-year-old who has minor, kind of issues. And so right now I've had to give her a month's remote work in Florida where she's staying with her parents so that the parents can look after the kid. And this is a person who's supposed to be handling collections and moving and doing stuff physically. It's not a tenable situation, but she says she's gone to Socrates, she's gone to Kingston. I don't, you know, I don't
It's the
feel
same
it,
across the
yeah.
board, but what you just said. one
But it's
key
not
thing-
money.
No,
It's
but
not
no,
money. It's
right,
availability.
It's the one key
Yeah.
thing that you just said, though. She's just had, she has one child that may have an issue. That child with the issue probably will have the ability to go to a program. It's the child that doesn't have an issue that you have no place to do.
No, she hasn't any luck.
That's the problem.
So we will put our toe in the water here to see how we can be a facilitator and an aggregator. But again, I want to be sure that we're not brought back into it at the level we were brought into workforce and education while we're waiting for Chris Nardone to get in place.
I do think though, and I can appreciate what you're saying. Again, I've had, since I've become a part of this board, it's made my wheels turn. So I've had the opportunity to have several conversations with school board members, different people in the communities. And I do think, even though I appreciate what you say about getting too involved in it because you have a lot on your plate, totally respect that. It's going to take someone like this board to say, we can help the start of the conversation. We can help the direction because nobody's out there wants to do it. They all agree it should happen, but no one is there to pick up the flag and carry it. That's the opinion that I see in the community. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I agree. Mike, within the conversations regarding affordable housing and a couple of projects that are on the board to either happen, may happen or not happen, is there any conversation about access to some of these structures for childcare? One of the problems that when you talk about the daycare center in Hudson, you know, it was a mess and they kept looking to the city of Hudson for assistance. The city of Hudson does not fund that operation. It assisted it. But we began talking to, well, we're going to redevelop Bliss Tower. Well, could you put a facility as part of that for daycare? Because I see, candidly, personally, I see childcare very much in line with affordable housing. And I think it's a conversation that should be part of affordable housing. So if we're talking about building structures to house and that are somewhat subsidized by either the whatever government it happens to be, I would think that would be an integral part of it.
Well, certainly, I know that because we manage the City of Hudson IDA, the Galvin affordable housing project, not the low-income housing project where they still need to get allocation of tax credits, is closing soon. And there is some retail space included in the first floor of that. And, you know, I think what I'm hearing is, you know, that when we do get involved in something, we kind of sometimes step way in, and I just wanted to be, I didn't set this up, but thank you, because, you know, if we're going to do it, we got to lead it. And, but then we have to know when to step back and let those who are responsible for it.
Sure.
I think it's vitally important and a major issue for employers and employees.
Yeah.
I mean, to Sean's point, you want to recruit younger people that are going to grow businesses and be here for a long period of time. They're the ones with small kids mostly.
What about John L? Forgive me my ignorance if it's been discussed ad nauseum, but every once in a while I hear it's like, oh, that building's sitting there rotting away. It could be used for so many
The
things.
city Hudson Development Corporation is exploring what opportunities there may be for their involvement in that project. Remember, when they sold the CAS property, they had a $3 million sale, and we can update you on where that is. But that's a good idea too. Well, thank you. That's you know, we did need some feedback on that, and we didn't want to be out there, you know, getting meetings without.
Just to emphasize the point, I mean, it seems like a really crucial core kind of infrastructure of the workforce to be focused on and working on. I mean, we get lots of loan requests for mushroom tincture companies and things like that. But anyway,
Well, the guy that makes the clear ice for the scotch.
priorities.
Yeah.
One last
There won't be
idea.
anybody to serve any of this stuff if you can't.
One last idea is the fact that we give out a grant of like $1,500 for those small loans we're doing. What about the idea of giving maybe a reimbursable grant for the people who want to have the at-home
Mhm.
things, like, oh, if you want to get certified, go through the steps, get certified, and then we could reimburse that fee or something small like that,
Right.
just to give an incentive for the at-home daycare. 'Cause that seems like a easier target to get into before we start getting to really big buildings too.
Just one last thing on that. I'm sitting here just thinking about this reminds me, when I started business 35 years ago, I can just think, I'm just envisioning going up down Warren Street and into Greenport, and I can remember at least 15 daycare places. We used to drop off kids, we used to transport to, and thinking about how they went out. Some were from retirement, some were regulations started to bombard them that where it wasn't feasible. These were all issues that they were dealing with, and people threw up their hands. There was no support system for those places. And each one of those places had 15 to 20 children at some point in time.
And part of it is them finding the people to be
Yeah, I
able
was
to
gonna
work.
say staffing is
Staffing.
huge. Our daycare
All right,
center-
this has been a great discussion. Thank you. We also have been working diligently, and I'll ask Jessica to give a quick update on helping businesses and organizations throughout the county as they approach Friday's deadline for the Regional Economic Development Council consolidated funding applications. I've been participating as a member of the steering committee of the New York Forward Grant Program for the Village of Kinderhook. It's a $2.5 million grant program. We've also been working with the Office of Community Renewal on the economic development grants. But as I mentioned, Chris being here 6 months, Jessica's been here a year. And we have been very appreciative and grateful to her for all of her knowledge and experience and the great work that she's been doing. I think we certainly, without Jessica and Chris, could not have ratcheted up the volume of work we're doing, just as having Steve with us now 6 months to do the loan program. So, it's been really, really helpful, and I appreciate the board's support and being able to expand the staff and build capacity. Jessica had prepared an annual report for the Columbia Forward program. And if she wants to give a little update on that program and any other areas that she's been working on.
So I think we'll have, so we're just wrapping up the first year of operations of the Columbia Forward program. Just a quick reminder what that is, the County Board of Supervisors this is their initiative. It's a cooperation between CEDC and the Chamber of Commerce. Really our guiding principles are support, foster business community, encourage business attraction, expansion, retention, and providing businesses with resources such as, for example, low interest loans and the grant that I mentioned. We're really focused on being a support to the local economic development committees at the town level. So we sit in on all those meetings, whether it's business associations or the town's economic development committees. Really, I just sit in as a resource. They have questions, they ask for help. That's what it really comes down to. So far over the last year, just some quick statistics. That we supported federal grant applications. That was prior to this round of CFAs. Just because of the timing ended in May. With the CFA deadline that's coming this week, that Mike mentioned, we have provided support to, I don't have the number in my head, but we do keep track of it. It's definitely more than 25 businesses directly. We've provided technical assistance to a lot of the businesses looking to submit applications. We also help with support letters and also just understanding the grant program to make sure that they meet the eligibility, as well as giving some thoughts and suggestions about how to make their application more competitive. We have through the Columbia Forward program provided networking events. This is really something that's driven by the chamber. We held the small business networking event that was held during the Small Business Week. That was a huge success. We actually have gotten a couple of loan clients as a result of that event. We to date have loaned just in the Columbia Forward program $299,500 has been loaned and $22,250 has been granted to businesses. Just to put that in perspective to Martha's full loan program, that's out of the $754,000 out of the full loan has been dispersed since June 2022. We have 2 years remaining on the Columbia Forward program, working closely with the chamber on figuring out what's year 2 going to look like. So we're really putting some programming together for that. Some other things just to mention as part of Columbia Forward, the County Board of Supervisors has approved us to apply for a CEDC microenterprise grant, which we have submitted the first round of the application, and Office of Community Renewal has invited us to submit a full application now, so we made it through that first step. And just a quick understanding of that program is a microenterprise is defined as a business with 5 or fewer employees, and that includes the owners. So what this will be is we'll administer a program for the county where businesses, microenterprises are going to be eligible for a grant up to $25,000 for inventory, working capital, anything not related to construction. So this is really, I think it's going to be huge for the county to have this pot of money to help. And as you talked about daycare, they're absolutely an eligible business as long as they have 5 or fewer employees. So we're hoping to maybe target this grant program. If awarded, we're still going through that application process. And interesting for CEDC, what we're asking for the counties for Office of Community Renewal is a grant of $300,000. That fund will go from the state to the county to CEDC as a subrecipient to dole that out. As a result, though, we'll be able to retain 15% of that for administration activities. So that's $45,000 that'll help CEDC administer the program.
Go ahead.
I was going to move on to the.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other unrelated really to Columbia Forward, but Greene County has reached out to us. They had submitted an application to the EPA Brownfield program and were denied, but the feedback that they received from the EPA was if they were to partner with another municipality or make their application larger, they would have a more competitive position. So they reached out to us, asked if we're interested in partnering with them on a Brownfield program. So really, we're just in sort of the fact-finding stage to better understand the program. What we're looking for is it's a pot of money that will help both Greene County and Columbia County inventory our sites and really prepare them for potential reviews. So this is a really preliminary step. Yeah, we have. So I reached out to all of the supervisors, asking them to give me a list of the sites that they would want in consideration, to put into consideration for this grant. So we've got a handful of sites across the county that this could be used for. The money would be used for doing environmental reviews, doing sort of that prep stage, the expensive stuff. When you have a site, a lot of times the developer says the environmental review cost is it's too expensive and it's the unknown. So this money would get us to prepare that land for development. Like a speaker. Yeah. So we're really fast. We have a meeting this morning with Greene County, and they've actually engaged a consultant to help us understand the program, but also position ourselves so that we have a stronger application if we so choose to go forward.
And the town of New Lebanon was highlighted by New York State Energy Research and Development Authority and received $135,000 in matching funds for the Clean Energy Community Program. They were the lead in the state in terms of points scored in the application process. Finally, the county is going to hold this September again the Climate Carnival, which will be an event at the county fairgrounds that will highlight clean, green community activities, including vehicle charging and all kinds of different educational activities in a carnival fair atmosphere with booths. They've asked if CEDC would serve as the fiscal agent for that. We've done these in the past. What it entails is we would be asked to collect the funding that anyone donates to be a sponsor, or any vendor to pay for a booth. And then they would direct us as to how to use that money to pay bills related to the event. We would have no exposure with respect to any deficit that might exist. The county would indemnify us against that, as well as all other claims that might be resulting from serving in this role. We did it for Hudson Tourism Board. We've done it for the town of Germantown. We've done it for the town of Stockport. And again, it's a request coming from the Board of Supervisors. I would ask that, there's no objection or there are no further questions relating to it, that you authorize me to enter into an agreement. The agreement would result, the accountants like us to run these agreements so that they end by December 31st, so the money doesn't show up as an asset or liability on our books.
What's the reason they don't do it themselves?
The sponsors can't get a tax deduction for the money that they donate to be a sponsor, because the county is not a not-for-profit organization. And there's no department within the county that is set up to run this type of an operation. But Chairman Burrell and Don Meltz and Jolene had reached out to us. The Community Land Trust did it before, and they have a new director who thinks it was outside of their scope. It's pretty routine. We did it for the Lincoln funeral train. When that.
You remember that?
Yeah. God rest his soul. I like the fact they had to cross the bridge in Troy and back the train back into Albany, because there was no bridge in Albany. It showed how important Troy was at the time. But anyway, so I recommend that we enter into that agreement, and if there's no objection, we would ask for a resolution to do that.
Any discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Seconded.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Unopposed?
We'll be sure you get tickets so you can come to our booth for food. It's part of, there are certain things that under our level of county support that we receive makes it hard to say no.
So we'll have a booth there.
Imagine we'll have some kind of presence. There's something else we have a booth coming up at that we agreed to. Did we agree to have something at one of the towns?
Oh, yeah, that is in September. Friday.
Yeah. Anyway, we get asked to do this once in a while. We try not to do it, because our staff works long hours Monday through Friday, but once in a while. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? With that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you all very much. We're a very active board. Couldn't do it without.